So I realized a few things while writing the books down on my TBR. So first of all, I Talk Like a River was not illustrated by Jordan Scott. It was only written by him. Sydney Smith illustrated it. Treaty Words for As Long as the River Flows by Aimee was illustrated by Swinson. And, most importantly, Animal Studies I said would go back to. I couldn't find any book I wanted to steal. So I'm going to buy a different prompt. I'm going to take the prompt for Art of Illusion and use a book I already planned for this month, which is Magic's Price by Mercedes Laquet. So all in all, my TBR for Aurelium is, let's start with books I already read. Treaty Words for As Long as the River Flows by Aimee and Luke Swinson. The Day the River Caught Fire, How the Cuyahoga River Exploded and Ignited the Earth Day Movement by Barry Wittenstein and Jesse Hartland. Returning to the Yakoun River by Sarah Florence Davidson, Robert Davidson, and Janine Gibbons. I Talk Like a River by Jordan Scott and Sydney Smith. River of Dust, the life-giving link between North Africa and the Amazon by Jillian Hoffman and Eugenia Mello. And River of Mariposas by Muriel Ortega. So those are all the books I already read. And the books I have not read yet, and obviously these can change. I might change my mind about which book I want to read for these prompts, but the books I have not read yet are Magic's Price by Mercedes Laquet, or Lackey, I don't know. The Apple Tree Throne by Premi Mohammed. Noteworthy by Riley Redgate. The Monster of Ellenhaven by Jennifer Giesbrecht. No One Will Come Back for Us, also by Premi Mohammed. Passage West by Rishi Reddy. And Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clark. Hi, it's Ariam, and I'm here to read for the Year in LDR Challenge of April 2025. Oh, peace and quiet. So, if you don't know, A Year in LDR is part of the Aurelium Readathon by Book Roast, and the main readathon happens in September and April usually. Basically, your character goes to school, they choose a degree, and according to the courses they need to take for the degree, you have prompts for different books. But there's also the Year in LDR, which is every month. And for that, your characters go on an adventure. Each month has a different prompt. So I actually have two characters, but they both have the same prompt this month, which is read a book that has the word river in the title. Now, I actually don't have any books on my TBR with the word river in the title. So what I decided to do is go to the library website, and I narrowed it down to juvenile, available now, and just look up a river, and I have a bunch of options, and a lot of them actually sound very interesting. So let's look through the options first of all. So the first one is I Talk Like a River by Jordan Scott. And this is about a boy who stutters. He goes for a walk with his father, and they see a river, and his father kind of talks to him about how he talks like a river. His words don't come out flowing straight, but neither do rivers. They go over rocks, they have waterfalls, etc., etc. This is very interesting to me because I just read a book with a main character who stutters, Gabriella, by Tessa E. Ooh, I forgot, and it doesn't say on the spine of the book. Anyway, she's the 2017 American Girl of the Year, and she stutters, and part of the book is her learning to speak up despite the fact that she stutters and be confident of herself, etc. So that one's very interesting to me. The next one is a DK Eyewitness book, Pond and River. This one is by Steve Barker. Basically, DK Eyewitness books are nonfiction books, and every 2 pages will be a little nonfiction about whatever the subject this book is about. Pond and River divided into categories. So I guess one will be like animals in the river, amphibian animals, fish, etc., etc. They're always a good time. Honestly, I had one growing up that's about rocks and minerals and crystals, and I really liked it. Then I have River of Mariposas by Muriel Ortega, which is about a girl who apparently where she lives used to have these very special kind of butterflies, or mariposas, and she decides to recreate them out of paper, but something comes along to ruin her plan. Sounds like a very basic, usual, normal picture book, but I do like that it's going to tell me something about a culture or an event that I don't really know about. Then there is Oh, wait. I think this one. Oh, no. Wait, is this? Yeah, this seems to be actually a a kid's novel. Let's see. Let's check. It's called Stone River Crossing. It still sounds good, but it does seem to be a novel and not a book. See. Let's see what Goodreads says. Yeah, it's 320 pages. I mean, a novel, not a picture book. Okay, so the next one is River of Dust, the life-giving link between the Sahel. The life-giving link between North Africa and the Amazon by Gillian Hoffman and illustrated by Eugenia Mello. So I've never heard of this, but it does sound interesting. Another nonfiction book. Let's divide this into nonfiction and fiction. Then I have They Call Me River by, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong. I don't even know the gender of this author. I'm going to pronounce their name wrong. By Maciek Albrecht. And this is just about the life cycle of a river. Yeah, it sounds a little less interesting to me. I already know how rivers work. Okay, then there is Returning to the Yakoun River by Sarah Florence Davidson and Robert Davidson, illustrated by Janine Gibbons. So this is based on the author's childhood memories in a Haida fish camp. Definitely sounds incredibly interesting. Again, it's going to teach me something about a culture I don't know. We'll put this kind of in between fiction and nonfiction. Wait. Okay, then we have The Day the River Caught Fire, How the Cuyahoga River Exploded and Ignited the Earth Day Movement by Barry Lichtenstein and Jesse Hartland. And illustrated by Jesse Hartland. I have heard of this event, actually in a Hamilton fan fiction. Very good one. So again, it sounds very interesting. It's something that I don't actually know. I've only heard about in a Hamilton fan fiction. This also, again, it's in a totally different country than mine. Sounds interesting. Okay, then there is The World's Wildest Waters, Protecting Life in Seas, Rivers, and Lakes by Kathy Barr, illustrated by Riley Samuels. Oh. Again, I wonder if this is another DK book, but I wonder if this is actually a picture book or a chapter book. I would much rather, read a picture book. I might read more than 2 picture books. It's fine. So let's see. Goodreads. Okay, we might have to add a Goodreads part to this. Okay, yes, Goodreads. Let's see how many pages this is. This is 98 pages. It's a little long, but still probably definitely a picture book. Okay, I'm going to leave it as an option. Taking out They Call Me a River as an option. Lastly, it says Treaty Words. For As Long as Rivers Flow by Aimee Craft, illustrated by Luke Swinson. And this says, on the banks of the river that have been Michel Misa's home his whole life, he teaches his granddaughter to listen, to hear both the sounds and the silences, and so to learn her place in creation. Most importantly, he teaches her about treaties, the bonds of reciprocity and renewal that endure for as long as the sun shines, the grass grows, and the rivers flow. This sounds very interesting and beautiful. I've noticed, oh, my cookies. They can wait a second because they're not in the oven, they're just chilling in the fridge. But I've noticed that actually a lot of these books are about cultures that I am less aware of, or events that I'm less aware of. Probably because where I live, we do not have a lot of rivers, so they're not at all important to our agricultural process. We depend a lot more on the rain. It's not like the rivers are, okay, let me correct myself. It's not that the rivers are totally unimportant, but they're important as a factor of the rain. How much it rained, did they fill up or not? It's like the rivers show us how much water we have. The rain is much more important because we have so few rivers here, and we have even less rivers that are around all year. We've only like 2 major rivers, and they are easily crossable by foot in the summer. So definitely, all these books that are about rivers are going to be coming from a different perspective. I think I'm going to try to read all of them. We'll see how that goes. But anyways, I'm going to go take my cookies dough out of the fridge and start rolling them. Okay, so first batch of cookies is in the oven, and I started with I Talk Like a River by Jordan Scott, illustrated by Sydney Smith, because I'm very excited for it. This is the one I'm most excited for. So I just finished I Talk Like a River. It's actually interesting. I didn't know, but this is actually a memoir of the author's. He stutters, and his dad brought him to the river and told him that he speaks like the river. So I thought the writing was, I didn't love it. I don't know why, it just didn't appeal to me. And maybe because I like something that's very straightforward, and it just was not straightforward at all. But I love the illustrations. So the illustrations are watercolor. They're kind of impressionistic a lot of the time, and they're so good. Especially the ones where there's just this one illustration. The two illustrations I love most, actually. The first one is at the beginning when the boy wakes up, our main character wakes up in the morning, and we see like all the things he sees in his room. And then the next illustration is him looking out of the window, and we see on the windowsill a lot of the things he saw in his room waking up. Like it was like divided into parts. Like, so here's a boy's eyes waking up. Here is, I have cookie crumbs on my fingers. And here is the toy horse, here is the toy car, etc. And then we see like all together in the windowsill in the next illustration. Kind of actually reminded me of I Spy. And the other one I really, really liked is just this one of him walking or swimming in the river. Wasn't entirely clear, but the way that the river was drawn, the way that you could see the sunlight in the river, even though the sun was totally not at all in the painting, it was just the river and the boy, was so, so, so beautiful. So this is a book that I definitely recommend for the illustrations and for the message, less for the writing. But I just love the illustrations. Not necessarily something that like kids would appeal to kids though, even though they're beautiful illustrations, because they're not like, oh, let's go have fun. It depends on the kid, obviously. But that was I Talk Like a River by Jordan Scott, illustrated by Sydney Smith. Okay, so the second batch of cookies is in the oven. First batch is out, and they are so good. They're kind of like mini Florentines, from what I understand. I just literally heard of Florentines, but I really wanted to make them, and I can't because they only use golden syrup, which I can't get. So I would have to use corn syrup, and I would probably have to buy it, which I'm not going to do because Passover, aka Pesach, is in a week. So the stores might not even have it. If they do, I'm not gonna buy it. So hopefully, with God's help, I'll make Florentines after Pesach. But right now, I made these almond cookies with lemon zest, and they are so good. Anyways, back to books. The next book I'm planning on reading is the DK Eyewitness book of Ponds and Rivers by Steve Parker. So I finished River of Dust, and it's more to decide if I liked it, but I do have some complaints. So my main complaint, this is really just my main complaint, is it's kind of almost written as a love letter from the Sahel, where this River of Dust starts, to the Amazon rainforest, because they were once part of the same continent and now they're apart, but the River of Dust travels in between them and connects them. And I really hate personifying inanimate things when in this sort of way. Like, obviously it's funny, good, but like when you're talking about science, I hate personifying it. So that bothered me. But I didn't actually mind that it was written in the first person. And I did find a lot of the language in this book very beautiful and very addictive to the imagination. Like I especially love this sentence. I whip across grasslands and through bulbous baobab trees. Or I whip across grasslands and through bulbous baobab trees. I just thought that was really beautiful. And then the next sentence is, I shroud the sun, sifts through cracks around windows and doors and into eyes and ears and mouths. And that really captures the imagination, and it's very beautifully written. So I really like that. So, and because the part of the love letter is only in the beginning and the end, while I still really didn't like it, I can kind of ignore it for most of the book. And then there's a thing I'm iffy about, like, so they have all this questions and answers of nonfiction in the back. Like, obviously this book is nonfiction, but they explain more of it because this book really is very basic, and because it is so basic, it really needs it. But on the other hand, those questions and answers are almost longer than the book itself, or they might be longer, I don't know. And this, it like feels kind of weird for a picture book to do that. Like, what age is this supposed to be aimed at? I don't know. I did find the topic very cool. Personally, as an adult, I did know slightly some stuff, but I think it helped that I knew slightly some stuff about this topic from Muse magazine. But it's a very old Muse magazine when they actually first started really studying this phenomenon from space, because it's not something that's easy to study from when you're on Earth. So NASA started studying it in 2002 from outer space, and that's around when Muse magazine for kids published the article about it. So when this book was published in 2023, so obviously we know a lot more. So it expanded on and it added to my understanding of this topic. But like, I do wonder if I think there's a very good chance I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much if I hadn't known about the topic, because the book is so basic. And while I do appreciate the questions and answers, when I read a picture book, I come here for the picture book. I like it when there are some additions in the back, but when the additions are as much as a picture book, it kind of like, why did you give me the picture book in the first place? Oh, and also the illustrations. What do I have to say about the illustrations? I like them. They weren't anything super special, but they were very nice. So that was River of Dust. The next book I'm going to read is Returning to the Yakoun River by Sarah Florence Davidson and Robert Davidson, and illustrated by Janine Gibbons. So I finished Returning to the Yakoun River. I wish I liked this more than I did. It was like, I didn't dislike it, but I just kind of felt like about it. The writing was the story was okay, the illustrations were I looked up a lot of stuff afterwards, which I enjoyed looking up, but the book itself, I wish I'd liked it better. I would just like everyone to know that I tried to wash my hair not once, but twice today, and I still have not managed. The first time, I listened to bad advice and I didn't heat up the water with electricity, thought it would be warm enough outside. Second time, I heated up for an hour and a quarter and I still didn't have hot water, probably because so many other people were using it. But apparently my hair is not getting washed today, which is, I just want everyone to know that I tried to wash my hair not once, but twice today. The first time, whoa. The first time I listened to bad advice and took bad advice for myself, I didn't heat up the water beforehand. I thought it would be hot enough outside that the sun could heat it up, but it really isn't. I don't really know why I thought that, because there is a slight chill outside. The second time, I heated up the water for an hour and a quarter, and it still wasn't warm, probably because everyone else in the building is taking a shower right now. But apparently my hair is not getting... Kit Kat? Come on. Come on, Come here. Good boy. Where's my good boy? Where's my good boy? Yes, you are. So apparently my hair is not getting washed today, which is very disappointing. I really wanted to wash it today. But the next picture book I'm going to read is called Treaty Words, For As Long as the River Flows, by Aimee Craft and illustrated by Luke Swinson. This is about Shamis, who teaches his granddaughter to cure the treaties between all the parts of nature. Sounds very nice. The illustrations and the cover look a bit plain, but they don't look like bad. They just look like plain. I'm not sure if I like them. I hope I do. Okay, so first of all, I have a little mistake to rectify. Mishomi is not one of the two main characters' name. It means grandfather in Anishinaabe. And secondly, I love the book. Look, it's not a children's book. Despite the fact that it is a picture book, it's not a children's book. So basically what this book is, it presents in very simple, and I'm sure simple language, and I'm sure simplified ideas, the idea of treaty, or let me see what the author called it as well, agreements to make relationships in the world, in the Anishinaabe culture, way of thinking, I want to say. And first of all, I really loved it. I thought the language was beautiful, and I thought the way it was written was beautiful. And I will get a bit more into it soon. I just want to comment on the illustrations. Sometimes they were extremely simple, and sometimes I thought it was really good. Like I thought, like, you know, when you have music and you have the main melody, but then you have like a beat in the back or something. I don't, and it like holds up the music. Sometimes they were, because it was so simple. That's what it was doing to the story. It was like kind of holding up the story, which is one way to illustrate a picture book. Another way is to make the illustration the main part and then the words the holding up of the illustrations. Or you could also do them both together. There were a few places where I felt it was too simple. It was just like there, it wasn't holding it up as well as I would have liked. But overall, I like the illustrations and I love this book. Now, to get into what I want to add more of. So I read last year The Moon Duology by Wabusheg Rice. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing his name right. And this is a sci-fi duology about a Anishinaabe town. And in the first book, okay, it doesn't really matter what the books are about. What matters is that in both of the books, I saw a lot of the same ideas that exist in Judaism, in Jewish culture specifically, not in Judaism the religion, in Jewish culture, as well as Judaism the religion, because they're in in English you would say two parts of the same coin. In Judaism you would say 70 faces, but they're part of the same thing. They tell the same thing, okay? Judaism, Jewish culture, not. Anyways, back to the moon duology. I saw a lot of parallels and complementary ideas, and even almost the same or very similar ideas in the Anishinaabe culture that Wabu Geshe Rice presented in the moon duology. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing his name right. I don't have it right here with me because that's not what I was supposed to talk about right now, actually. And Jewish culture, especially the idea of galut or diaspora and geula or the return to home, and not that. And in this book, actually, that's totally focused on treaties, I also saw a lot of parallels and complementary ideas with Judaism, which I thought was really interesting. Like, it's crazy how similar the ideas are. So the main idea is in relationships or treaties. So in Hebrew, we call that a brit. And there are a lot or in English they translate it to covenant, and there are a lot of brits in the Torah. Like, starting from the very beginning, we already get brit after brit after brit, just brit, 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 brit. And so I feel like a lot of non-Jews don't really only know the covenant as between God and Jews, but there are a lot of britot that come before that, actually. But, okay, so I want to read you something. So the author has an afterword, an author's note, and she writes, the story in this book reflects how natural law gives us an understanding of treaties, or what I call agreements to make relationships, that would allow us, indigenous and settler, to live well together in harmony, in accordance with those laws. In particular, the story reminds us that our treaties are anchored in relationships based on respect, responsibility, and renewal. Respect for each other, ongoing responsibilities toward one another, and a constant renewal and affirmation of that relationship. And that just fits. That is the Jewish idea of what a brit is. Like, that is exactly what it is. Like, if I wanted to tell someone what a brit is, that's like the best way I could put it. I just want to say that the idea of a treaty in Anishinaabe culture and Jewish culture is exactly the same thing, and I find that really cool. The other really important thing about Anishinaabe culture in here is learning from nature around us, which is something that is kind of different from Judaism. Very different even. It does appear, obviously. I think it would be very hard for it not to appear in any culture. Like, for a very famous instance, is that in the Gemara, the sages say that we learn modesty from cats and this good trait from this animal, this good trait from this animal. They basically have a whole list of good traits that we learn from different animals. But for the most part, Judaism does not directly sit with nature, except for one thing, which is trees. So Judaism has a lot of things to do with trees. For instance, there's a very famous sentence, because the man is the tree of the field, aka a fruit tree. And you're like, what does that even mean? And there are a few other sentences like that. And if you go to war and you have a siege, you're not allowed to cut down the fruit trees or salt the ground so that nobody can grow stuff there. So it's obvious that there is some sort of connection between Jews and trees in Jewish culture, that there was, but it's something that I think like a lot of people have been very puzzled about. But it shows up again and again and again. Obviously, the very first time we see it is in the Garden of Eden, with the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So, anyways, but those two things are very different. And while in the Anishinaabe culture, treaties are directly connected to learning from nature, in Judaism, treaties are not connected to learning from nature, but the idea of responsibility and respect and renewal, that's also very important. That's why like we pray every day, because we're renewing our treaty with God. So and there are a lot of concepts of renewal of our treaty with God in Sinai, or God's renewal of the treaty with us in Judaism. So anyways, I thought that was really cool, and I've talked for too long. I'll probably try to edit this down and take out all of the notes part out. Anyways, I will see you with the next book, which will also probably be the last book I read for this video, but I want to eat first. Okay, so I finished the day the river caught fire. How the Cuyahoga River exploded and ignited the earthing movement by Barry Wittenstein, illustrated by Jesse Hartland. I think it was a very good video to end this, very good book to end this video on. It is getting later in the day, and I am a morning person, but I think it is a very good book to end the video on. Because I think a lot of, I forgot to read River of Mariposas. Never mind. A lot of what these books are saying is that, yeah, I think I am going to read River of Mariposas, so the video is actually going to have one little more bit. But what a lot of these books are saying is that the rivers are an important part of what we are and our environment. And our environment obviously could not be the same without the rivers the way that they are. And that's what happened to the Cuyahoga River. What I was very surprised to learn in this book, not only that, first of all, the Cuyahoga River did not catch on fire one time, it caught on fire 15 times or something like that. And B, this is a little less surprising to me, but still, it was not the only river to catch on fire. There were other rivers that caught on fire. And that's crazy. And I think a lot of people don't realize how far we have come in protecting the planet since the 1960s. And obviously, there's still more to be done. And we're learning things all the time about how interconnected everything is, and how if we change one thing, other things change. But yeah. Also, okay, so what else did I like about this book? I liked the writing style. I thought it was a little overdramatic, like a little too trying to get kids engaged. Like, it's an engaging topic, but that's just my personal preference. I can see a lot of people really enjoying it. the thing I really, really loved about this book is illustrations. They actually reminded me of Richard Scarry, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, illustrations. So I really love them. Plus, there was this part, like, so most of the book is before the Clean Water and Clean Air Act, and then the end of the book is after the Clean Water and Clean Air Act. And they use basically, I think what they did is they used a different background color and just totally changed it. Like, I didn't even realize at first how to press, because it was full of color. Like, there were all these different colors, but I didn't realize how depressing the colors in the beginning of the book were until I came to the bright colors at the end of the book. I thought that was really cool. So good job, Jessie. What's her last name? Jessie Hartland. That's cool. So now I'm going to read the actual last book of this video, which is River of Mariposas. And both this book and the River of Dust one are not about rivers of water, but they're still about the environment and how important it is. So that's pretty cool. I guess it's something that rivers tell us. Like, even where I live, like I said, we don't have a lot of rivers in my country, and most of them are not all year round rivers, they're winter rivers, but we have stories about how important they are to the environment. Because rivers just, I guess because rivers really affect, like, everything. Like a lake or an ocean, it's in one place, right? But a river goes through so many places that it's, and the ocean is mostly empty, but a river goes through so many places, and people live on rivers, so it will really, really affect what's going on. Anyway,